Good morning. We will be learning today Rambam Hilchos Malveh Veloveh, Perokim. We're going to focus on what he writes in Halacha. Now it's a long Halacha, so we're going to just, instead of reading and translating, we'll just give you an overview of what he writes. Although there are words here that are important, we'll get through them later. So he starts off, Rambam, and says that a star can be written in any language as long as it's done like the Jew. The star is Starei Yisrael, he calls it, and that cannot be forged. You cannot add. You cannot take off. It's written in a certain format, and that cannot be changed. It can be added to text in middle. It's specific, designed, and it's not time now to get into all the details, but he does. Not here. And the witnesses have to be Jewish, and they have to know how to read what says in the star. And such a star, it can be used to go after any sales that the lender made with his property after the loan. Now comes the issue that we're going to be dealing with. But what about the shtaros that are signed by Goyim? So he says they're all possible except, now here's the except, sales, contracts of sales, and loans. And you got to give the money of the sale and the loan in front of them, and they have to write that the money was given. And one more condition: it has to be done in the courts of the non-Jewish courts. However, in a place of where they're prominent people get together, there's no justice system there. That doesn't help at all. Now, next step. Even in a court of law and in a where their signatures are not Jewish, you need Jewish witnesses to testify that this court and these witnesses are not known to be taking bribes. Now, if any of these are missing, worthless, cheres. It's a piece of earthenware, has no value. Now, same thing with any other kind of where there's no financial transaction, actual financial money being given from one to the other, even though it's a star, it has no value. It's like earthenware, nothing. Now, here there's a machlekes. The Rambam brings a machlekes between him and his teachers. His teachers say that a star chayiv is also possible, and only transactionary shtaros of sales are good. And the Rambam disagrees. But he makes a condition. Even though he disagrees, he says you can collect money from the borrower, but you cannot go after the sales that he made. Why? Because one of the things that we're concerned about is that people shouldn't stop lending money. I'm sorry, we want to protect the seller, the buyer. Now, if the buyer buys from a person who has loans against them, that's the buyer's problem. Nobody asked him to get involved and risk his capital by buying such property. Whereas if there is a contract, a Jewish law, legal contract, people know about these things. But that's which is made in a court that's not Jewish, doesn't have a koil, and therefore you can't put the risk of you can't put the buyer at risk. Comes along the Rabbi and says that the Rambam's teachers were right. They agree. He agrees with them. And he says why? Because they don't, the same reason. They don't have a koil. So it could be he paid and nobody, and then that's it. You know, in other words, now we'll explain the Ravid soon, what others understand them to be. Now, by the way, this sugi is in Gittin Daf Yud. It's a Mishnah. Kol Ashtar Salem Bar Koishel Akum. So the Mishnah there seems to say the only ones that are possible are Gittin and Shechrur Avadim, which are on the same level. The Gemara discusses why is it that what the halacha that why would our kois in other cases where there's a sale it will work. So the Gemara says because the money was transmitted from one to the other, and there was a transaction in front of them. They're not going to sign a shtar that's not a shtar. They're not going to sign off on a shtar like that unless they know what happened, and and that gives them that gives them the trust and validity they need. Then the Gemara asks, what about a shtar matana? So the Gemara says no good because there's nothing happening. The Gemara's lashon is that it's a shkas b'malma. It's only a earthenware. This shtar. So Shmuel says. So the Gemara asks, how come it works? Why would it work? So Shmuel says it does work. We're going to talk about Din Machuz Adina a little later, but that's what he says. Then the Gemara says no, maybe not. That means anything. It has to be my gittin. It has to be a transaction, a physical transaction happening, or a loan, which a loan is according to the Rambam, but that's basically it. Whereas a matana doesn't have any transactions. There's no money going from one to the other. There's a lot here, but I'm going to try to we have to cut back. And so that we can get to the basics. And I want to get to the explanations of what the Rambam Shitta is and how they understand them and what others understand. And the Rambam Shitta is very complicated here, according to many. Magnisha tries to simplify the issue. And he says that basically there's a machlekes between Shmuel, who says Dina de Machus Adina, and the Ibois Ema that says Chutz Mechigite Nosh. And he says, therefore, the Rambam and most of the Ge'enim paskin like the Ibois Ema, and that any shtar that's like a get, which means there's a transaction happening here, it doesn't work. And now any shtar that's like a get where you're creating a certain shibut doesn't work. Dina Machuzadina, which is a halacha, and the Rambam paskins it. So he says a very interesting essay, which is problematic, as we'll see soon. That Dina Machuzadina only works on things that are relevant to the king. The king wants something, he can get it. But taxes, infrastructure, but transactions between people, what does that have to do with the king? He couldn't kill us. He makes rules, he makes laws, but those laws are not relevant to us. And there's a shitta like that. Now, what about Shtore Halva? So many people say it's no good. The Rambam holds it's good. And he says that the Rambam Shitta is that if you're holding such a shtar, the guy can't say I paid it unless he has witnesses. Even though you cannot, so most Mefarshim say, but the other price can hold. That's it. This way explains the right. Since this can't be used to get from the buyer's money, right? Because it's not a good star. So it's not a good start to that's proof that he didn't pay. But the Rambam holds that really, you take a loan, you're obligated to pay. And I have a star in my hand that says you didn't pay. You can't claim you paid. Yeah. All right. So that's the way he understands it. And now, according to this approach, the Iba Yisema and Shmuel argue. However, many Rishonim say no. And they make him argue this whole concept. They say everything works. And Din Malchus works according to in every case. The Iba Yisema is coming to say that if there is no Dina de Malchusa, then it's only good. Then we say everything that's like Gita Nashim doesn't work. Then you say Chutz Mechig Gita Nashim, and therefore Mashem Atana won't work. But these Shtare Mecher Avo, they are koyis of Din Malchus on them. No, it's like the koyis have a koil, and it'll work according to them. That's their approach. Now, Din Malchus, there's no law in the land on this. Okay, so let's review the main points. The Rambam Shtare HaKoyis, that's what we're going to call the shtarim of the shtares that come from the non-Jewish quotes. Is the machlekes in Shmuel, according to this is the Mishnah's explanation, holds Din Malchus Dina. They say they don't see Din Malchus Dina in such a case. Rambam Paskins like the Iba Yisema. And the reason is because Din Malchus only works on things that the king benefits, like taxes. His teachers hold that Shtare Avo that aren't mentioned in the Sugya are like Shtare Matana and don't work in any case. The Rambam holds, according to this older Maggid Mishnah, since the main shibud comes by taking money, so then I have a contract, you should have taken it back. And then he brings the opinion of the others, the Itter, the Malay Itter, the Ramban, the Rajva, that there is no machlekes. Now, this approach to say that we don't say Dina de Malchusa, yeah, there are opinions like that, but the Rambam does not seem to hold like that. Rambam, in many places, gives cases that say clearly that that Dina de Malchusa works all over. Rambam says a guy that sells metaltalin to Yid, they're coming metaltalin Yisrael, Kaina b'Mashiach, Makna Mashiach, b'Dam. Well, Karken in the Kaina is Yisrael el b'Shtar, and the Makna said el b'Shtar. Saying that it's a guy needs a contract, and therefore, since the guy won't sell without a contract, it doesn't really his sale line doesn't work only with a contract. Therefore, he says, Yisrael shalokach sodom and hakim and nosan damim. The kaidem sheyachzik bo Yisrael achav yechzik is good because the guy didn't rely on, and he says that's what. Now, how this is good, says the Rambam, where there's no mishpat, you do a lamelech. If there's a dina de malchusa, whatever the dina melech b'momen al pi and down. So that's clearly not like that. Now, the Rambam does not seem to agree to this idea. I don't know how the Maggid Mishnah learned them, but I'm sure he had his way of learning. Okay, so let's now go back to Shtar HaKoyis. Shtar HaKoyis works only for proof, like Marin Ashayos, the Gemara says, because they're not going to put themselves in danger, therefore we trust them, according to this approach. He says, but it's not shtar. It doesn't have a din shtar, because it's written by Goyim. A shtar has to be according to written by Yid. So if it doesn't have a din shtar, why is it better than ksav yad? If I write an IOU note, it doesn't have a din shtar. Yeah. And shtar can be other man is a shtar. It's a din shtar. That when I it's not just I have a contract. I have to have a shtar. And then the Rambam says something very interesting, that really it would be goyim and mishabadim, but it has no koil, but it's not a shtar. Okay, so in order to cut short a lot of the discussion, I'm going to tell you in general. There are three ways to understand shtarcha biyodi my boy. In other words, if I have a shtar, and you need to pay me and you claim you paid, you're not believed. As long as I have a shtar, there are three ways to understand that. One, it's a chazak. I have a shtar. You didn't pay, you didn't take it back, and so it's proof. Two, it's part of the edus of the shtar, that a shtar is, the Edom are saying you didn't pay him because I'm still testifying. As long as there's a shtar, it's testifying that you didn't pay. Not only do they say that you lent, but you didn't pay. And the only way out of that is the shtar has to be either torn or a shaver has to be written. Another thing is, it's like a condition. It's a source that comes with the shtar, that you lose your right to say, I paid. It's one of the properties of a shtar is to say that the holder of the shtar is believed to claim you didn't pay, and therefore you can't claim you paid. Obviously, if you bring witnesses, too bad, that's not. All right. Now, there's just again that would be the three ways to understand. Now, we talked about a couple of things, and I want to just touch base with that. And I want to talk about a couple of halachas regarding shtarcha biyodi, my boy. If a shtar has an eid echad, now we don't know what kind of din it has. What the Rambam writes? Shtar sheyesh be'eid echad hilchis tayim v'nitten perek dalar halacha hey. Shtar sheyesh be'eid echad v'ton sheporei. The guy says, I paid. Now, of course, there's an eid echad somehow or another. He's mechuyev shvua. Right? If you argue, if you contradict the Eid, you got to swear. Now, why is he any yochel shav? That's what the Rabbi asks. I don't know. Use a lotion of a pasuk. In other words, he's talking in rhymes. The Kesemish says it's a very strong time. There's no shtarcha biyodi here, because this is not a shtar that you can collect from Mushavada. So he says like a ksav yad. You're never the separati. And the Rashbi says Ark is on the Rambam. Says, of course, you can swear. Now, what is the din by Ksaviyad? The Rambam says, that's in Hilchas Malveh, where our halachas, halacha gimel, shul chayiv lei ve'ein sham eidem avi shul huchas Ksaviyad bezdin hareza kemil valpeh. And he swears Hashuas Hesses like any other thing. So the question is, why is it different than a kois? Now, what we've heard till now is that some or another being gavim and mishabodim and having the din of shtar chaviyad go hand in hand. But I want to just note that the lashon of the Rambam by Ksaviyadai v'imtoin shenifra nishva heses v'nifter v'eina gavim b'ksav zem v'nalakuchas, which would seem to indicate they're not related, because he writes the Lukuchas after he writes that you're not believed. Okay. Now I want to angle on one other issue. The Rambam has a Hidush Dikidin that you need to have Jewish witnesses validating the Arkois and the Edom. However, if it was done in a non-Arkois place, it was done amongst in a conference of judges or of scholars, kibbutz lileim, then it's not good. Even though I have witnesses that these people don't take bribes, they're not known to take bribes, they're decent people. Why? If you need the witnesses, then it should work. If you don't need the witnesses, then it shouldn't work. What's going on here? Why doesn't it work? And why does it work? What does witnesses do in this case? Okay, so I want to suggest, and again, there are others who say similar things, but I want to follow a certain line of reasoning. According to the Rambam, there's a concept of din of the malchus din. The Rambam explains din of the malchus din, and it seems to the Alter Rebbe that's why he understands them. Some say he doesn't mean that, but the Alter Rebbe doesn't seem to hold like that. Then the Rambam holds that the reason that din of the malchus works, he uses the following lashon. The Rambam talks about a king being able to do what he wants. In Hilchas Gezela, Va'aveda Halacha Yudches, Perkei Halacha Yudches. And when describing a king, he says, "B'medvar mamurim b'melech shemat be'yetz be'yitzaras." So the king is accepted, and he is a line that the Alter Rebbe seems to say is the key. Sharei skimu olav b'nei oisa ha'aretz v'samcha daitam shehu adeineim v'heim le'avada. In other words, in explaining why Dina the Malchusa works, this is his explanation. Now, others say that's an explanation. That's just a description of a king, as opposed to a guy who's a dictator just jumped in and took him over without any process. If a guy just who jumped and who controls a certain area because he's powerful. Okay, so going with this approach that the Alter Rebbe learns in the Shulchan Aruch and the Kuntuzach, and he says that the king gets his power from the people by being, and they're his servants. In other words, he's in control. He owns everything. It's his. based on that, it's hard to say that he only works when he's the gay at him. He's in control. It says. So now let's understand. There's a star course. Star course. The star course has a problem. The Torah says we don't believe a guy. We doesn't have the manas in general. Now, the Shach, famous Shach, Simonai Gimel, says that it's not possible to say that Torah, that Din Machusa goes against Torah. Don't talk about it. If Din Machusa goes against Torah, there's no Din Machus. Torah supersedes everything. Torah says we don't believe a guy. How we believe a guy? So the Rambam says you can't believe a guy unless you have Jewish witnesses saying that they are reliable. Others say you don't need the Jewish witnesses because it's a chazake. No, you need to have Jewish witnesses to make it right. Once they are reliable, the din of the malchus can give it a din shtar. Can give it a din shtar. But the Rambam puts another condition. In order to be able to be reliable, it has to be that money was transacted from one to the other, and they say it was done in front of them. That's what the Gra in Simon Samaches says that's why the Gemara puts such an emphasis on that. Oh, so it gets a din shtar. Tzav Yad can't get a din shtar. Din of the Malchusa can give it a din shtar. It gives it a take of a shtar. Now, as long as the money was transacted in front of them, as a din shtar. And the Rambam, everybody agrees as din Malchusa. Nobody argues on that concept. They're just arguing whether you can believe them without, without transacting money. Okay, that's technical difference between the Bay Seim and Shmuel. So, in other words, like this, in any case that you're going to say shtar chibiyad man boy, the Rambam holds, and it's there are rayos to that it's not that the shtar is edus. All it is that the shtar is a schus, and it's also rayos that it's not a chazak. Shtar is a schus that you cannot time the parati, which is the reason that the Rambam holds by a shtar of an eidecha that kochach has a din shtar, because otherwise, when I have a shtar, the eidecha is worthless because it's mipiyam olympic so. So it has to have a din shtar. Because it's a shtar, you don't have a right to say shtar parati. So you can't swear. You don't have a taina. You can only swear on a taina. You don't have a taina. You don't have a taina. Okay, so that's that. Ksav Yad doesn't have a din shtar. Our kois wouldn't have a din shtar unless we have proof that you're nema. And that's why you need edus. Once you have edus that they are nemonim, then the din of the malchusa can give it a din shtar. Once it has a din shtar, the shtar can be other rabbi. You lost your schus. But like the Rambam, if it's a din shtar, why can't we give him in Shabbat? Because there's no kavod. So basically, the nekudas adav, and again, I'm leaving out a lot of stuff because I don't want to burden everybody with this side on IYUN, but you need a lot of it to prove the points that we're saying. But the main point of the Rambam is that shtare arkois needs an nemonos. Without nemonos, Torah doesn't accept shtare arkois. No matter what. Namonus, the Rambam says clearly, require a few things. One, leimari nafshayu. Leimari nafshayu. Leimari nafshayu means there has to be a transaction of money. It needs edus of yidden that they're not like Sheikha. Once, so that takes it away from being against Dinei Torah. Once this contract is not against Dinei Torah, Dina de Malchus gives it a din Kayach Avashtar, because it belongs to the king. He is the master, and you are the Eved, and therefore he can give it a din shtar. Once he gives it a din shtar, you lost your right to claim. I paid. But to be given in Mishabde, you can't. Okay, that is the shortened version of a very interesting concept, and we'll leave it at this.